Well, good morning. My name is Barabbas. You might have heard of me from the Bible. But I want to tell you a bit more about my story today because most people don't know my story all that well. I live in Israel. And do you know what the worst thing about Israel is? The very worst thing? That's the Romans. The Romans. We hate the Romans, if I can just get this microphone. The microphones don't work so well in the first century AD, but we'll give it a crack. But I hate that. You know what Romans, they're always marching around and they're telling us what to do. Will you carry my gear? What, who, me? What? Yeah, you, carry my gear. Oh, all right. Why me? Well, don't ask questions. All right. You know what? They're always making us follow their stupid laws, and they're always making us pay stupid taxes. And do you know where the tax money goes? All that tax money they raise from us, it goes to Rome. Do you know? It always goes to Rome. And do you know what they use it for? They use it to pay the soldiers who come around telling us what to do. It's crazy. Well, I know a very simple solution to this tax money for the Romans. Just tell the Roman soldiers to go back to Rome. That would save a lot of taxes. But I tell you what, those Roman soldiers, they are harsh. They throw people in prison for no good reason. They're always going on about their Caesar. Caesar said this and Caesar said that, and who cares about his Caesar and his Rome? Our capital city, Jerusalem, best city in the world. And I want Jerusalem to be free. You know, a few years ago, it stuck with me and my mates, we got together and we took the Romans on. We had a bit of a rebellion happening and we got stuck right in and we showed those Romans a thing or two. I killed a few myself. I'm pleased to tell you about this. And we gave them a hard time. Of course, the Romans didn't like it very much. They chased me down and I got caught and they stuck me in this dungeon under Pontius Pilate's palace. It was pretty awful down there, damp and cold, and the food, don't even ask about the food. It was a shocker. And they told me, you know what they said? They said I was a murderer and a terrorist. I'm no terrorist, I'm a freedom fighter. That's what I am. I'm fighting for the freedom of my people. And I've got to tell you though, when they started talking about crucifixion, that put a shiver through me because I've seen a crucifixion and those nails, you know, they're nasty. I've seen grown men cry when they were crucified. Well, anyway, the day they set aside for my crucifixion was just before one of our big festivals, the Passover, massive event. And the religious festival, the Romans knew that a big crowd was coming and they were going to make an example of me. They go, right, you rebel against Rome, we're hanging you on the cross in front of the crowd. But you know what happened? On the morning I was supposed to be put to death, I was sleeping in my cell amongst the stink, and I heard this noise. Lots of men yelling up in the palace upstairs. Crucify him, they were yelling. I thought they were talking about me at first. But they'd arrested this preacher man called Jesus. And everyone had been talking about him. Now this Jesus, you know, I don't know why they arrested him. He seemed to me like a good man. You know, he's going around healing the sick and caring for people and providing food for the hungry and all that sort of thing. But you know the problem with Jesus? He had a big problem. Way too peaceful for me. I had a different approach to the Romans, a little bit more go get them. But Jesus used to say, love your enemies. I mean, can you imagine loving the Romans? Loving them? I mean, no, not a chance, no way. That was not me, but I've got to say, Jesus did nothing wrong. Anyway, I've stood up by my window and I was listening to the carry-on that was going on upstairs, and I could hear the crowd say to Pilate, "It's Passover time, Pilate," and you know what that means? It's time to let one of the prisoners free. And Pilate said, "Do you want me to release Jesus?" And I thought, well, I suppose they will. No. They said, "Release Barabbas." And I go, Barabbas? That's me. They want to release me. This is good. I was getting a little bit excited. The heart was beating a little bit hard, but I knew I was a murderer, and the chance of me getting released was like zero. But then Pilate said, well, what should I do with the one you call the King of the Jews? They're talking about Jesus. And you know what they said? You know what the crowd said? They said, "Crucify him." And Pilate said, well, why? What crowd's he done? But the crowd was getting worked up more and more, and they were like a mob of mad dogs, and they just kept yelling, crucify him, crucify him. And it was kind of over for Jesus at that point. And in the end, Pilate kind of backed down, and he said, well, I'm handing Jesus over to be flogged and to be crucified. Well, I was amazed. I was excited. I was shocked, actually. The Romans were going to let me go. And I thought, no, this is not going to happen. Surely not. I couldn't believe it. But a few minutes later, a big, burly centurion came walking down the stairs, and he banged on my cell door, and he said, Barabbas! I said, yeah. And he said, Barabbas, you're free to go. And just like that, I walked out. And I'm breathing these big lungfuls of clean air, first time for months. And I couldn't help but think, what the heck just happened? I was expecting to get crucified, now I'm walking free. Jesus is innocent, and he's about to be crucified. I'm guilty. Everyone knows I'm guilty. And I'm going free. The Romans are crazy, let me tell you. They are crazy. It was kind of felt like a big swap, you know. Jesus got what I deserved, death, and I got what he deserved, freedom. Jesus died for me, like in my place. It was like that. He was condemned where I should have been condemned. I know I should have deserved it. I mean, not the Romans. But I was so amazed. You know what I did? I thought I'd sneak down and just quietly watch from a distance, see what this crucifixion of Jesus was going to be. And do you know what he said while they were crucifying him? They're hammering the nails in. Do you know what he said? He said, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. I mean, can you imagine that? I would have been cursing them. I tell you, I would have cursed them black and blue. Jesus going, Father, forgive them. I couldn't believe it. Some more people walked past, and do you know what they did? They're mocking him. They're having a go at Jesus. Come on, Jesus. Let him save himself if he's really the king. And I'm thinking, what? I mean, he certainly saved me. He saved me by dying for me. That was my benefit. And then there's these two other criminals. They got crucified at the same time, and one of them's mocking, and he's saying, hey, Jesus, you think you're the Messiah? If you're the Messiah, save yourselves and us. And the other one's looking at him going, are you crazy? Don't you get it? Don't you fear God? We're under the same sentence that he is. Don't you see it? We're under the same sentence, but he's done nothing wrong. He's the innocent one. And then he turned to Jesus, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And I can imagine Jesus going, hey, you deserved it, pal. You're a crook. Don't come begging now. That's what I might have thought. But do you know what Jesus said? He said, today you will be with me in paradise. I was like, what? Jesus was saying that criminal would be welcome in heaven. What's going on? Everyone knows getting to heaven, it's about, you do enough good things and then you have a good track record. And I knew I didn't have a track record. There's no good track record for me. Jesus is saying to this crook, everyone knew he was a crook. He was convicted by the courts. And Jesus is saying he's going to be in paradise just because he's calling on Jesus for mercy. And then everything went dark. And the earth began to shake. Like there was an earthquake. And it was like the whole earth was shuddering because what they were doing to Jesus. And then Jesus said these words. He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? What did he mean? One of the Romans who was there, that big burly centurion guy that came and opened the door for me, he said, surely this man was the Son of God. And I went home and I'm thinking about it for hours and it just didn't make any sense. Why was Jesus, the innocent one, forsaken by God? What's going on there? why did he tell that criminal, and everyone knew he was good, why did he tell him that he would be in paradise? Everyone knew he's bad. And then slowly it started to fall into place. At that moment when Jesus cried out, "Why have you forsaken me?" something eternal was going on. Something massive was going on. He was cursed for us. He was damned for me and for all of us, for you. He became sin for us, and he had to be separated from his Father because he was bearing in himself all of my sin and all of your sin. Our God took our place because he loved us. Isn't it strange how the day Jesus was murdered became known as Good Friday? What a strange day. It was a terrible day. It was the worst in human history, but it was also the best. It's the day that our forgiveness was bought for us. But it's not automatic. Those two criminals, one is right, one of them's mocking. There's no forgiveness for him. The other one welcomes Jesus as his king. He's calling him his king. Remember me when you come into your kingdom. Even as he's dying. The first criminal still mocking Jesus even as he dies. The second one crying out. And if he could be forgiven, I'm thinking maybe I could be forgiven. Maybe you could be forgiven. It all depends on whether you receive Jesus as our King. Lots to think about there. But we might say goodbye to Barabbas now. If I can get this mask off without... There we go. Oop. Masks in the first century don't always go together. Let's see if we can get it going to the 20th. Here we go. All right, well, I'm back to being Richard again. For those of you who are confused and couldn't figure it out, I have not done time travelling. Been here all along, and I don't know if Barabbas ever received Jesus as his saviour. Maybe he didn't, maybe he didn't. I wonder if he did. I wonder if that story kind of got embedded in there because Barabbas got known as one of the leaders of the early church. Could have happened, we don't know. But as Christians, we have participated in that great exchange, haven't we? That's who we are. We are God's people because the condemnation that fell on Barabbas, it should have fallen on us. That condemnation fell on Jesus. And his righteousness that was his fell on us, was given to us. It's this great exchange. My guilt landed on him, and his righteousness is granted to me. And that's the great joy of being Christian, isn't it? That's the great affirmation, the confidence that we have in the presence of God. That's what he's done. We're going to reaffirm that now as we share in the Lord's Supper together. If you're not a Christian person yet and you've not participated in that great exchange, now's a good time to do that. Now's a good time to reflect on that. Make that exchange yours. Make that exchange yours. As we move to the Lord's Supper,